The first housing bill from the Welsh Government is published today. It includes proposals to tackle the problem of empty properties in Wales, a scheme or changes to the scheme which is designed to prevent homelessness, and also a restriction on the operations of those unscrupulous landlords, which would see a register of landlords mandatory. You have to sign it before you can take on tenants. Now that is not something that the industry is entirely in favour of. I'm joined by Douglas Haig, Director for Wales for the Residential Landlords Association. Hello there.
Good evening.
First of all, there's a lot of hope hanging on the housing bill. Housing is a key issue in Wales. On a general level, Mr. Haig, do you approve of what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very big bill. It's covering a lot of different areas, and there's a lot of good things in there. More specifically to the private rented sector, it's the one very positive thing that we agree with is split into two parts in terms of there is the registration and licensing of letting agents and a separate one for landlords. Now, we certainly agree with licensing and registering the letting agents, because I think overall the industry be professionalised, and I think that will start to tackle a lot of the issues that we're seeing that in the private sector. In terms of private landlords, we don't particularly support the scheme as it stands. We just find that inexperience, blanket registration schemes or blanket schemes in general don't capture the people that they're supposed to.
But if your members are law-abiding, if your members are good landlords, they've got absolutely nothing to fear from being registered. In fact, there may be an advantage to it.
Well, having spoken to the Housing Minister a couple of times, he has promised that there will be incentives for landlords, and I certainly welcome that. I haven't seen any details of that, but it's not so much that there's anything to fear from. It's the fact that there is a cost in this. Is it a cost-effective way of achieving what we want to achieve when actually all the landlords that we already know about are members or members of other accreditation schemes or members that go to landlord forums or go on things like that. We already know where they are.
If I'm a potential tenant and you are on the register, then I know that I'm in safe hands. That's a business advantage for you.
Well, if it's advertised correctly, I mean, there's been accreditation schemes around for a long period of time, and unfortunately, tenants don't tend to search out those good landlords. For instance, there's other legislation that's come in, like the energy performance certificates, which are supposed to advertise sort of better quality property in terms of energy efficiency, but we very rarely get tenants asking for those. But I'm supportive with the concept of educating tenants to be asking.
Well, there will be a publicity campaign before this is introduced, if it passes through the Assembly. So, I mean, people will be told about it first, which is the right way to do it, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
yeah. And I think they have delayed the proposals for the implementation, which is a positive thing to enable greater information. But unfortunately, we feel that what's going to happen is that the bottom end of the market, the landlords that we want to tackle, the ones that we want to get out of the market ultimately, because they're not being picked up by what's happening at the moment. The resources should be focused towards a different scheme that targets them as opposed to registering all landlords in a blanket way.
Yeah. There is a recognition from the government that some of you are very good indeed. Carl Sargent today described the private rented sector as showing extremes of good and bad practice. And he's right, isn't there? There are very well-intentioned landlords, and there are some, frankly, who shouldn't be there.
Absolutely, and we, as the Residential Landlords Association, we kind of divide the landlord market into three: those that are good, well-educated, well-practicing landlords, those criminal landlords that shouldn't be in the sector. They know what they're doing wrong. They know what the law is, and then everybody in between. And often those people in between are the ones that get caught by legislation like this, when actually all they need to do is be informed a little more about what their rights and obligations are, and they can perform better. But we don't think that a compulsory scheme is the right way to do that.
Thank you very much for that. Douglas Haig, Director for Wales of the Residential Landlords Association.